Hey, everybody. Let me turn my phone on silent. I'm a little bit early today, but I know that a lot of folks are spending time with their families. You might be getting ready to have guests or to travel. And so I wanted to keep today really short and we can go ahead and jump in. The topic that we're talking about today is relevant to the past two Wednesday health content writing topics that we've discussed. And most of those, if you've missed them, most of the conversation the past couple of weeks has been around the versatility of the pharmacy degree and pharmacy experience. And even if you're not a pharmacist, if you're a different type of healthcare provider, this is also relevant depending on what type of degree you have. But we've been talking about maximizing the versatility of these clinical degrees and the clinical experience. And I think that today's topic, which is about, well, let me back up. For those who aren't familiar with me, I'm Megan. I'm a public health pharmacist turned health content strategist. I have a health content marketing company called Stockrose Creative, and I also teach pharmacists and other healthcare providers how to replace a portion of their clinician salary through freelance health content writing. And that is through the 4-month accelerator called Health Professionals to Health Writers. So that's a little intro if we haven't met before. If we haven't met before, feel free to introduce yourself in the comments as well. And you can always shoot me a DM. I love to have conversations via private chat as well. So today we are going to be talking about a question I posed earlier this week, which is, in your opinion, I'll be sharing my opinion, but in your opinion, I'm curious to know whether you consider being a pharmacist to be a skill in itself. Is being a pharmacist a skill? And I expressed the opinion that, I already told you what I thought in the caption for this video, which is that being a pharmacist is not a skill in my opinion, but I want to talk a little bit more about why that is. And I would love to hear if you have other thoughts as well. So we've been talking again about the versatility of the pharmacy degree. When we talk about that versatility, what we're really saying is that in pharmacy, whether that's through the academic training or through professional experience, what we're doing, I don't know why I'm blurry. What we're doing is we are learning various concepts and skills that can be applied in various ways to industries outside of pharmacy and even to industries outside of healthcare, if we wanted to get really creative. And that application is important because when we talk about applying one set of knowledge or skills from one industry to another industry, then in those conversations, we often talk about or hear about transferable skills, meaning these are skills that we can take from X industry, pharmacy in this case, and apply to Y industry, which is why I think it is really important to acknowledge and understand that, at least in my opinion, being a pharmacist itself is not actually a skill. That is a profession. Like as pharmacists, as a profession, we are pharmacists. But if someone asks us what our skills are, hopefully we would not respond that we're pharmacists. Hopefully we would be able to dive deeper into what skills that actually entails. I think that as pharmacists, it can be a little easy to get stuck in the profession, like the title of it all, and allow that to become like our identity almost, such that it is hard to extract individual components out of that identity and out of that profession. Let's see, we have a comment here. Clear, awesome, Gail. Thank you so much. So then the problem becomes when you're in a place where you do want to transition into something else, or you want to try out something else, even if you want to kind of, stick to your full-time or traditional pharmacy job on the side. When you're wanting to branch out and try other things, that can be tough if you aren't really aware of what your skills are. And if you've been so stuck in that identity and that profession as pharmacist, and you haven't taken the time to really think about what your skills are, whether these are skills that you use as a pharmacist or not, then it can be challenging to think outside the box and think of creative ways that you can apply those skills to other industries. So basically, I wanted to talk about this today because I want us to get more in the habit of not just thinking about what we do as the profession of pharmacists, but thinking about what individual skills we have as individuals. So again, yes, we are using skills in our day-to-day roles as pharmacists. And depending on what type of role as a pharmacist you have, you might be using more of some skills, whereas another pharmacist might be using more of another type of skills. We have common skills, and then we have distinct ones depending on where we spend the majority of our time working. But regardless, I think that it's important to identify and be aware of what those skills are. So, two questions that I think can be helpful to ask yourself to reflect on. What are the skills that you use in your job that are relevant to pharmacy? So, if you have any type of pharmacy job, whether it's a traditional pharmacy job or whether it's less traditional, make a list, like actually write down a list of all of the skills that you utilize in that role. Think about skills that you use when you're interacting with other people in your role, whether that's interacting with patients or fellow healthcare providers, insurance providers. Think about those interpersonal skills. Also, think about the internal skills that maybe you aren't like acting out with another person or another entity, but that you're actively using internally in order to execute your job really well. Make a list of all of those skills, right? Secondly, the second list that I think would be helpful to make, because again, our jobs shouldn't necessarily be our identities, but sometimes they are. But we want to get in the habit, I think, of thinking outside of being a pharmacist, like beyond being a pharmacist. What are other skills that you have? Because more than likely, you have other skills that you are good at or that you could be good at that have nothing to do with pharmacy or nothing to do with your particular role in pharmacy. So think about those skills you have, even if they're skills that you don't get to exercise as often as you might like to. Think about skills that maybe you have some foundational understanding of that you can build upon, and make a list of those as well. So when you get done with these two lists, you should have one side that has all the skills that you use as a pharmacist in your role, and then you should have a list of other skills outside of pharmacy that you also use. This is really important to have this down on paper. I mean, especially if you're like me, if it doesn't exist on paper, I'm not going to remember, but it will help you visualize all of the skills that you have that can be transferable to other industries and to other sectors. And when you have access to these transferable skills, and when you find out about other opportunities that aren't related to pharmacy, it's going to be easier for you to say, oh, well, I'm qualified for X because I have these skills, right? Those skills might come from your profession as a pharmacist, but your ability to clearly point out what those individual specific skills are is going to be really important when it comes to communicating your qualifications to someone else. Because we know what we do as pharmacists, you know what you do in your individual role as a pharmacist. That doesn't mean somebody else does. They probably don't. I probably wouldn't know exactly what you do because we all do different things as pharmacists. So my point is, being able to pull out those skills is really important, because just saying that I'm a pharmacist is not a skill, and that's not going to be transferable. What else did I want to say? I wanted to keep this short because I know that we're all busy. The other thing is, the other reason that this is helpful is not just for communicating things with others, but also because by knowing what your skills are and by being able to like see them on paper, you can also focus on developing the skills that you think need to be developed and improving upon them. So again, those skills that you have that might be like lower level or foundational, or it's like, I'm okay at this, but I'm not an expert. Those are also opportunities for personal and professional growth. So if you know that, well, I've written before for like a church or a school newsletter, and I enjoyed it, but I don't know if I'm actually really good at it, right? Then that might be a skill that would be helpful for you to build upon. or if you, I don't know, build furniture, right? If you're an amateur, you go to Goodwill and you repurpose furniture. Okay, that's something that I do on some level, but I'm not an expert. Well, hey, is that a skill that I think could be beneficial for me to build upon? So by seeing what those skills are, we see what the opportunities are to improve upon those skills. My skill that I identified, I don't know when I when I actually identified it. I think it was in hindsight towards the end of my pharmacy school years, as I was thinking back on different roles that I had. I realized that writing was the skill that kind of served as the common denominator between all those different roles and opportunities. So I took advantage of that and said, I'm going to continue to ride this writing wave so that I can get better at it, get more training in it. Even though I didn't completely understand like what the end goal was. I just figured, hey, this is a recurring theme that I'm seeing. I do enjoy it. So this is what I'm going to focus on getting better at, right? I leveraged that skill. I sought out roles and training opportunities that capitalize on that skill, and I honed that skill over time. And now that is the skill that has allowed me to transfer my pharmacy degree and pharmacy experience to other industries, i.e., digital marketing. So for you, the skill could be writing, the skill could be design, the skill could be, editing. The skill could be you might have a knack for systems and designing processes and protocols. You might have a knack for IT or coding. Like, just you can literally Google what are common skills or what are skills that are in high demand, and you'll see a whole list, and you can kind of see where your skills intersect or overlap with that list. So I think this gives you a good idea of the point I was trying to make here. I know that a lot of you have been asking about the January cohort of health professionals to health writers, which again is my 4-month accelerator that teaches pharmacists how to replace a portion of their income through freelance health content writing. And as I've probably talked to you about, if you contacted me, enrollment for the January cohort is closed. That cohort is about to get started in just over a week, right after the new year. And the next cohort that I'll be running is in May. So if you are interested in getting on the wait list so that you get early updates on when enrollment is going to start in that May cohort, feel free to leave a comment on this video that says waitlist, or you can shoot me a message that says waitlist, and I will make sure I'll help you get on that waitlist so that you can get early updates about the May cohort. But again, to be clear, enrollment in the January cohort is closed. And if you would like to get updates on the May cohort, you want to comment waitlist so that you can get added to the waitlist and get the information you need. So I want to wish you happy holidays. Please be safe. Enjoy time with family or with loved ones, or I know a lot of us are going to be spending some time alone. So regardless of who you are spending time with or where, I hope you have a wonderful holiday season and a happy new year if we don't chat before then.